Do you really believe that you have been told everything about reality? What if I told you that there is a secret archive in the heart of the Vatican, locked away for centuries, containing the most dangerous knowledge that humanity has ever produced? A compilation of truths so profound, so transformative, that they could crumble everything you believe about religion, science, life, and, until death. We're talking about documents that speak to mind control, simulated realities, out-of-body travel, near-death experiences, and even how your consciousness can shape the world around you. This information has been hidden for a reason. It liberates. And whoever holds the power never wanted you to know that it is also in you. Get ready. Because by the end of this video, you will no longer see reality with the same eyes. You'll understand why they've kept us distracted for so long. And why now it's being revealed. Many don't even suspect it, but within the imposing walls of the Vatican, there is more than holy relics. There, in safes locked under lock and key, lie secret files that hold knowledge capable of shaking the pillars of our perception of what is real. Documents that deal with consciousness, simulated realities, and even ancient archetypes that were silenced for containing inconvenient truths. What is hidden there is more than history. It is a key that could free minds from the control system that surrounds us. And no, that's not cheap conspiracy theory. It's the kind of forbidden knowledge that never made it into school textbooks. People who have had partial access to these records talk about quantum experiments archived long before modern physics understood them. There is even talk of reports on near-death experiences and astral projections collected over the centuries, as if the Vatican, discreetly, were a center for the study of consciousness and its possibilities. Just imagine, while you grew up believing that everything comes down to the physical, there were monks and scientists exchanging letters about free energy, vibration, and manipulation of perception. This type of content does not disappear, it is hidden. And whoever controls access to this knowledge has in his hands an immeasurable hidden power. There are indications that figures such as Nikola Tesla consulted such files. Tesla spoke openly about healing frequencies, about free energy, and about a universe interconnected by vibration, ideas that echo with what many of these documents describe. But then you ask yourself, if all this is real, why have we never heard about it? Because if you know that your consciousness shapes reality, that the universe is a controllable illusion, you cease to be a piece on the board. And that's when we start to understand that the game is much bigger than it seems. Think with me, what if everything we call reality is, in fact, a construction? Something molded, adjusted, reprogrammed as if it were a software in constant editing? This idea may seem like the stuff of science fiction, but it's much closer to quantum physics than you might think. The famous double-slit experiment, for example, shows that simple observation changes the behavior of particles. This means that consciousness influences matter, and that reality is, indeed, a manipulable illusion. Now, he puts that together with the ancient texts found in the Vatican's secret archives, which describe the world as a projection of the mind, something mystics were saying long before scientists. These records speak of a vibrational matrix, where what you think and feel adjusts what you see and live. And look how crazy, there are instructions for rituals, practices, and sounds capable of changing this frequency. That's the cat's leap. It's not just theory, there is a way to apply it. Meditations with binaural sounds, for example, already demonstrate measurable changes in the state of consciousness. So if reality is shaped by our perception, who shapes our perception? This is where the great game of mind manipulation comes in, a game where media, religions, and even educational systems become tools of the control system. The goal? Keep your vibration low, your mind distracted and your consciousness numb. After all, a human being who is awake, conscious, and aligned with his or her highest frequency is not controllable. And when you start to see this, there is no way to unsee it anymore. For a long time, we have been taught that consciousness is just a byproduct of the brain, as if it were a light bulb lit by biological circuits. But what if it's the other way around? What if consciousness is the projector, and the brain is only the screen? This idea is not new, it is in ancient Vedic texts, in Vatican manuscripts, and even in modern studies of neuroscience and quantum physics. Scientists such as Dean Radin and Rupert Sheldrake have argued that the mind influences the field around it, literally changing the reality around it. This explains why certain people achieve spontaneous healings, experience bizarre synchronicities, or report near-death experiences with hyperreal perceptions. It is not a miracle, it is consciousness manifesting outside the confines of the physical body. In fact, Tesla himself said that the secret of the universe lies in thinking in terms of frequency, vibration, and energy, all of which are directly connected to consciousness. When you understand that you are co-creating reality with every thought, it becomes impossible to live on autopilot. And that's where the real collective awakening begins. Want to start testing this on your own? A simple practice: every day when you wake up, write down 3 clear intentions for how you want your day to go, with emotion, as if it's already happening. This changes your vibration and, consequently, the reality around you. It's as if you gave commands to the quantum field, using consciousness as code. And the more you practice, the more you realize that you are not living life. He is projecting it, as in a well-programmed hologram. But why was all this hidden from us, huh? If you've ever felt like there's something wrong in the world, but couldn't explain what, perhaps he is beginning to see the cracks in the system. Governments, religions, and the mainstream media function as pieces on a board, or rather, a very well-structured control system. Everything is designed to keep your consciousness in automatic mode, revolving around fear, scarcity, and distraction. That is why the forbidden knowledge that is in the secret Vatican archives never reaches the public. After all, an awakened people is an impossible people to manipulate. They don't want you to discover that reality is moldable, that consciousness is creative, and that the universe responds to the vibration you emit. Because if this becomes common sense, entire structures crumble, religions lose their monopoly on faith, governments lose control of the narrative, and corporations can no longer sell solutions to problems that you can solve yourself. Have you noticed how everything is done to keep you busy, tired, and disbelieving in yourself? This is no coincidence, it's design. And every detail, from the school curriculum to the evening news, is part of that engineering. Want a practical example? Stop consuming news for a week and observe how your emotional state changes. Then, pay attention to how it affects how you react to people, to work, to your life. Small actions like this are already beginning to break the manipulation of perception. That's when you realize that mind control isn't done with chips or antennas, it's in the repetition of ideas, symbols, the ancient archetypes used to shape your mind. But as some texts kept under lock and key said, every mental prison has a crack through which the light enters. Few geniuses in history have been as silenced as Nikola Tesla. He spoke of free energy, wireless transmission, and even frequencies that influence emotions and matter, all in the late 19th century. These archives spoke of ancient knowledge about vibration and energy manipulation, already studied by civilizations that do not even appear in history books. And when Tesla started turning that into inventions, well, that's where the problem began. Why is it that almost nothing Tesla created has been implemented? Because his ideas directly threatened the pillars of the control system. Imagine a world where energy is abundant and free. You couldn't monetize it, you couldn't keep entire nations dependent. And more, if you understand that frequency influences your reality, you begin to realize how sounds, colors, even words have an immense power over you. No wonder, these discoveries were shelved, and Tesla was erased from the spotlight. But your notebooks, these still circulate in discreet hands. Do you want to apply a little of this in your daily life? Start by paying attention to the frequencies around you. Music, for example. How about swapping out what makes you crave for sounds at 432 Hz or 528 Hz? They are frequencies associated with harmony and healing. Small changes in the environment can raise your vibration and, consequently, your state of consciousness. Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think about energy, frequency, and vibration. Maybe he wasn't just talking about physics. Perhaps he was trying to give us the key to something much bigger. There are people who think that leaving the body is the stuff of a movie, but reports of astral projection, bilocation, and near-death experiences have been around for thousands of years, and the Vatican archives them with almost obsessive dedication. These phenomena challenge the idea that we are just flesh and blood, and suggest that consciousness can travel, observe, interact, independent of the physical body. There are detailed records of monks appearing in two places at once and of saints reporting out-of-body encounters. And interestingly, all of this matches modern experiences reported in palliative care clinics and studies with NDEs, near-death experiences. The interesting thing is that, despite traditional science disdaining it, serious institutes are already researching the phenomenon with tools from neuroscience and quantum physics. The Monroe Institute, for example, has developed specific sound techniques to induce altered states of consciousness, and the results are impressive. Many report leaving the body, meeting deceased loved ones, or accessing symbolic dimensions filled with ancient archetypes. All of this suggests that consciousness is a field of information that exists beyond the flesh, a field that can be accessed, trained, and even expanded. And what happens when a lot of people start to access this field? Guess what? If you want to take your first steps in this universe, start with guided meditations focused on astral projection or the Monroe Institute itself. Another tip, keep a dream journal and practice mindfulness before bed. This helps you recognize when you're in an altered state. These are simple but powerful keys to getting out of daily conditioning and realizing that there is much more to it than routine. A parallel reality, a simulation, a layer beyond the matrix. Perhaps the ancient texts already knew the answer. Prophecies have always caused a certain chill, especially those that have never been fully made public, such as the mysterious Third Secret of Fatima. That document, kept secret by the Vatican for decades, would speak of a great collective deception, of an illusion that covers humanity like a veil. And he is not alone. The Book of Enoch, for example, was excluded from the Bible because it contained accounts of celestial beings, advanced technology, and cycles of perception manipulation. Coincidence? Maybe not. Some say that these prophecies do not predict the end of the world, but the end of the world as we know it. Many of these texts warn of a time when humanity would awaken, and the matrix would begin to crumble. This collective awakening would be marked by an uplift in the vibration of global consciousness, revealing the hidden power that has always been available but hidden by the elites. Mayan prophecies, Gnostic scriptures, and even pyramid inscriptions speak of a time of revelation, which, interestingly, resonates with what modern physics is beginning to explore about parallel realities and energy fields. When science and spirituality begin to meet, something big is about to happen. Want to dive into it? Begin by reading the Gospel of Thomas and the Book of Enoch. Do not expect religious codes, but deep metaphors about consciousness, vibration, and unseen realities. Also notice how the system reacts when someone speaks openly about these prophecies. Usually, they are ridiculed or silenced. Why is that? Perhaps because the truth is so powerful that, if revealed, it would break the control system. And this leads us to a bigger question: what is the universe, anyway? Imagine that everything you see, touch, and feel is just a projection. It's not delusion, it's a serious hypothesis championed by scientists like David Bohm, who spoke of the universe as a hologram generated by deeper layers of reality. According to him, what we call real would only be the visible shell of something infinitely more complex. Michio Hirata was also studying this before his work mysteriously disappeared, literally. And guess where fragments of these concepts appear? Yes, in the secret archives of the Vatican, in manuscripts that speak of light, form, and vibration shaping matter. This vision changes everything. If the universe is a projection, consciousness is the projector, and its vibrational state affects what appears on the screen. What you believe, feel, think, directly influences the reality that manifests itself around him. It sounds like something from the Matrix, right? But think about how a near-death experience or an astral projection can reveal realities as vivid as this. Maybe this one is just one of many layers. What if it's really a simulation? Well, then the instruction manual is hidden, and someone very specific made a point of it. Do you want to start programming this simulation? Use daily affirmations combined with strong visualizations, as if you're writing a script for your life. For example, I vibrate in the frequency of abundance, and it reaches me every day. Repeat with emotion. Create mental images that go with it. This, done consistently, alters your vibrational patterns and the field of possibilities around you. It sounds magical, but it's physical. And what happens when this power becomes collective? Have you ever stopped to think that maybe you're living in automatic mode? Studies show that about 95% of human actions are programmed responses, habits, beliefs, emotional reactions conditioned from childhood. It is as if we were running invisible software, deployed through education, the media, and social norms. And the most shocking, This code was written not to liberate, but to keep you inside the matrix. Subtle, elegant, and effective. After all, a conditioned human being is predictable. And the predictable is controllable. Since you were a child, you learn to obey, compete, consume. He feels guilt for resting and pride for sacrificing himself. This is not a coincidence, it is social engineering. Great systems shape archetypes from an early age: the exemplary student, the ideal worker, the obedient citizen. All of this lowers your vibration, limits your consciousness, and makes you believe that this is the only possible reality. But when you start questioning, then the system creaks. It is at this moment that the true awakening begins. Want to test it out? Do a media detox for 7 days. Question every automatic belief with the question, is this mine, or have I been taught that? Write down your answers. Read books like The Power of the Subconscious, Joseph Murphy, or You Can Heal Your Life, Louise Hay. These simple actions already begin to reprogram your mind. Because when you realize that you can update the software, you understand that your life doesn't have to follow the same conditioned script. And guess what happens when more people do it at the same time? Now that the veil begins to fall, the inevitable question arises: how to free yourself from all this? The answer is not outside, it is inside. The real revolution happens when you immerse yourself in practices of radical self-reflection, deep meditation, and expansion of consciousness. They are simple but powerful tools that break through the invisible control system. And the best part, you don't need to be a monk or mystic to start. Just decide. Take a deep breath. Look inside. Because that's where the key lives. Meditation, for example, isn't just about relaxing, it's a technology of consciousness. It changes brain frequency, activates intuitive centers, and connects you to the field where everything happens. Start with 10 minutes a day. Use apps like Insight Timer or listen to Theta Healing audios. Combine it with journaling, writing down what you feel, think, and perceive, to map your mental patterns. This creates space between you and the conditioning. And in this space, freedom is born. And when this practice spreads, something extraordinary happens: a critical mass awakens. People begin to live outside the matrix, creating new realities, vibrating high, influencing the collective field. This is collective awakening, not an esoteric theory, but a reprogramming on a global scale. And if you feel that call, it is because you have already started to come out of hypnosis. Now, the question is, what if all this was already being predicted in secret files that you never wanted to see? Now that you know what has been hidden, the question that remains is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? You will continue to accept the reality that they gave you ready? Or will you start questioning, vibrating differently and creating your own? Because once you see the matrix, you can't pretend it doesn't exist anymore. Collective awakening begins with a single person, you. And if you've made it this far, you've already taken the first step. Now it's time to take action. Start with small daily rituals. Meditate, write down your intentions, observe your thoughts as if programming a new reality. Study what was forbidden, immerse yourself in alternative sources, tune in to what elevates you. Knowledge is power, but only when it is applied. Are you ready for it? Or will he continue to be a spectator of a carefully constructed illusion? If this content made sense to you, if it awakened something inside, if it moved your perception, then subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Here, with each new video, we go deeper into this journey of expanding consciousness. And remember, the truth sets you free, but only for those who have the courage to face it.